Let's begin with that big game, guys, because records and rivalries are on the line when number 2 Georgia takes on number 4 Alabama on Saturday. Georgia bringing in a 42-game regular season win streak, and the Bulldogs defense has been a big part of that. Impressive this season, going 16 straight quarters without allowing a touchdown. But Alabama's defense has been pretty stout as well, allowing only 3 plays of 20-plus yards this season. That is third fewest in FBS. Kirby Smart, guys, 1-5 against Alabama. I imagine that's a number this crowd enjoys. His lone win coming in the 2022 National Championship game. And, of course, it is Kalen DeBoer making his SEC debut for the Crimson Tide. Both coaches spoke about the significance of this game this week.
We got to have a great week of preparation. They got a tremendous team. Nothing but respect for Kalen DeBoer and what he's done with that team and that staff. I think he's done a great job of putting them in a position to grow and get better. And they've gotten better with each game. So we need to do the same this week.
Welcome to the SEC, right? But it's going to happen throughout the season, right? There's going to be a lot of great teams that we're going to face, and so being at your best, that's what's required of me. That's required of all of us, and that's comes down to just going to work, rolling up your sleeves, and enjoying all that comes with these big challenges that are in front of you each and every week.
Look, Kalen DeBoer has had a lot of success, but as everybody knows, it is a different animal when you get to the SEC. As for Georgia, the last time they faced Alabama, it did not go well for them. It actually kicked them out of the college football playoff. What do they have to prove tomorrow when they take the field?
Well, on my flight to Birmingham, I was sitting next to some Georgia fans, and I asked them, I said, what are you guys looking for in this game from Kirby? They say, Desmond, he's lost to Nick Saban, but you can't keep losing to Alabama. Now, you lose to Alabama that's not coached by Nick Saban, you're going to have some problems in Athens. He's going to have to get Carson Beck going. The Kentucky game, he didn't look sharp. He was hesitant to pull the trigger on some throws. They got to get Carson Beck into a rhythm. He's going to have to throw the ball down the field, but first short, intermediate routes just to get him going. But the one thing I don't think he can do is lose to Kalen DeBoer. One thing to lose to Nick Saban, completely different ball game to lose to Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, when we're talking about what we need to see from Georgia, I think you touched on the Kentucky game. Yeah. They have to be improved from that sense.
Absolutely.
Offensive linemen missing assignments, quarterback not playing well, defense giving up, losing a lead in the beginning of the game. Yeah. They have to be improved because when you look at that schedule, this is the first of 4. They got the toughest remaining schedule in the country. True. It's here, it's at Austin, it's at Oxford, and then they get the Vols coming to them. Yeah. So this is a big step for them to show they've improved and be able to show what they have on this kind of stage.
Feels like a lot is at stake for Georgia. Is it similar for Kalen DeBoer and the Tide, or less pressure given it's his first foray into SEC play?
I wouldn't say it's less pressure, but I think everything that Kalen DeBoer has done to this point, he's aced, right? The banquet tour, recruiting's going well. They hit the portal right. He has a great staff. Yep. And all of that will be reframed through the prism of the result of Saturday night, right? Everything Kalen DeBoer has done has built to this moment, and this is when he will begin being judged. When foot hits ball on Saturday night, the Kalen DeBoer era really kicks off. Now look, 12-2 against top 25 teams at Washington. He's 107-12 overall. He is an unbelievable football coach. But for his Alabama tenure to get off on the right foot, it starts on Saturday.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I saw Kalen DeBoer being interviewed by Marty Smith. And Marty asked him the same question, what does this game mean to you? He said, listen, this game sets the direction for our team for the rest of the season. So they'll know where they are because Georgia is the measuring stick by which you are measured. He understands the pressure, but he understands the significance of this game tomorrow night.
And you talked about he aced the test. That was everything he could do, right? He got his team ready. They started out the season undefeated. But now you get judged based on what your team does.
100%.
So, he's been incredible. You ran through the record to get your teams prepared. He's been great on this kind of stage, playing ranked teams. So everything's out there. Yeah. But the difference is now he gets judged based on what happens in between the sidelines.
Our fantastic researcher, Marissa, gave me this one, guys. Kirby Smart has blown at least a 7-point lead in all 5 losses to Alabama. His record in similar situations against all other opponents 89-4.
Wow.
He's got more of those losses to Alabama than anyone else combined. That is incredible.
Marissa had to dig deep for that one.
Marissa absolutely crushes it every single week, guys. Player to watch, brought to you by today's military. Jalen Milroe has recorded multiple passing and rushing touchdowns in all 3 games this season, tying Johnny Manziel and Tim Tebow for the longest streak by an SEC player since 1992. Very excited to see what Jalen Milroe does on the field tomorrow night facing Georgia. Steve, what does Alabama have to do to get this win?
They got to be more consistent on offense. Too many times against inferior competition this year, they have relied on the splash plays, the explosive plays. They have to be able to stay ahead of the change. Georgia's defense is going to be back as healthy as they've been with a bunch of their defensive line guys coming back. That's the matchup I'm watching. Alabama's offensive line against that Georgia defensive line, but consistency, they have to be better.
The Alabama has played the Briars defense, full vanilla and a steady diet of it. They blitzed 4 times so far this season, 4 times. Expect that to change. Credit them for being patient, right? They were in a few of those games and they slogged along. So looking for Alabama to be a little bit exotic, a little bit more complex, and I'm looking for LT Overton, the Texas A&M transfer, to have a big game. He had 6 tackles against Wisconsin. He looks to be coming into his own. He was a Ballyhood recruit at A&M, and now that's starting to turn into production here at Alabama. 6 tackles, a sack, a forced fumble at Wisconsin. Overton could be a guy who really flashes on Saturday night.
You better be getting some NIL money for that mention, Des.
Kalen DeBoer told Marty Smith that what's going to determine the outcome of this game is turnovers and field position. You have to win a turnover battle. You don't want to give Georgia a small field or a short field to work with consistently. He said we got to protect the ball. If we do that and play like we can play, we should be okay.
Let's go to the other team that will be in action tomorrow night, Georgia. What's the key to them winning tonight or tomorrow? Saturday, Pete.
So Michael Williams, the star edge rusher, is going to be questionable for this game. He's been limited in practice this week, Jen. They need him to stop Jalen Milroe.
Georgia's defense has to travel.
Yeah,
you know, they pulled it out against Kentucky. They have to do it here again against if the offense sputters a little bit to start the game.
Get Carson Beck, the quarterback, in the rhythm early so he can start to spread the ball all over the field.
26 FBS teams are still perfect. This weekend is going to thin that herd with some big conference matchups. Let's start, Steve, with which undefeated team, and you're seeing a lot of them right there on that graphic, you are most interested to watch play this weekend.
It's Ole Miss, and nobody's going to want us to talk about this from the Georgia side, but I was really impressed with Kentucky's defense watching the tape against Georgia. But now you get Ole Miss, hasn't played a great schedule. Kentucky is going to come to Oxford and punch your offensive line in the face. How are you going to react to that? That's what I'm dying to see Ole Miss. It's their first chance to really play a conference game against, good competition.
Yep.
How do they react? That's what I want to see from Ole Miss in that offense tomorrow.
No doubt.
UNLV's program got famous for all the wrong reasons this week, but UNLV is 3-0. They are ranked in the Coaches Poll for the first time in school history. They have Fresno Saturday. The following Friday, they have Syracuse at home. Those are arguably 2 of the biggest games in school history. They have Haj Malik Williams coming in for Matthew Sluka, the quarterback who famously walked out because of an alleged unpaid verbal promise of $100,000. Haj Malik Williams is going to be looking for Ricky White. This is an amazing stat, Steve. Since 2010, UNLV has had 0 players drafted. That's hard to do in big-time college football. Ricky White will be the first one. He's a receiver. He's had limited production. Matthew Sluka, not a thrower. He's a runner. I look for Ricky White to really get things rolling for UNLV if they're going to keep continuing this week.
Des, how about you?
I think, you talked about Marissa, right? So during the week, I was doing my prep. And so I said, hey, Marissa, I need you to look something up. I said, I'm looking at the top 25 teams, the top 25 ranked teams in college football. And I'm looking at Ohio State. Are they the only team that in 4 weeks has not played a Power 4 team? And she said, yes, Desmond, you're right. So pretty much Ohio State took the whole month off, the whole first month off. And now they're playing Michigan State, you know what I mean? So finally they're playing a Power 4 team, going on the road, playing this Michigan State team that defensively, they lead the conference in sacks and tackles for loss. So, I mean, the trenches, watch that battle in the trenches. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to ask Pete later on because Michigan State has lost at least 3 wide receivers early in the season. I don't know who's coming back. Pete's going to give me that information a little later on. But Ohio State finally welcome to the 2024 college football season up in East Lansing against Sparty.
Just dripping with sarcasm there. Pete mentioned UNLV.
You're right.
Week 5, and they have not played a Power 4 team. That's crazy.
You said welcome, so I said okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that was the first thing you looked at this week for prep.
I'm just saying.
Ohio State
I was
at?
just doing
Where's
my
Ohio
prep.
State?
I was like, gee whiz, what's odd here? What's odd? I mean, it is what it is. I didn't make this schedule.
You're valid point.
Worked out well for
Valid
Michigan
point.
last
Good for
year.
them.
They did the same
Good
thing
for them.
the 2 previous years.
Nah. Why you always got to put Michigan, bro? Why you?
That's exactly.
All right.
Are you a Buckeye defender?
I will tell you
Can't we
this,
just
guys.
say what's happening right
pointing
now?
out
Yeah.
UNLV,
I don't know
Pete
Michigan's
mentioned it,
first 4
guys.
games. They didn't play a Power 4
We
team?
will have a